Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite you to consider the nature of consistency. It is a force that is often misunderstood, but when we begin to appreciate it not as a rigid tool of control, but as a fluid, living principle, we begin to see its true value. Consistency is not about brute force or blind repetition. It is about harmony, rhythm, and an intimate relationship with the flow of life itself. We live in a world that values results, that desires quick and measurable outcomes. But behind every success, behind every moment of triumph, there is an unseen force of discipline and consistency that has quietly shaped the course of events. This force is subtle, and it does not shout or demand. It whispers gently in the background, coaxing us to remain, to persist, to continue even when the winds of distraction blow fiercely around us. To be consistent does not mean to simply do the same thing every day, without thought or reflection. No, it is far more intricate than that. Consistency is the ability to create a rhythm in your life, a rhythm that nurtures growth, fosters creativity, and invites success. It's about finding a deep inner cadence that allows you to move gracefully through the challenges of life. When you are consistent, you are not merely following a set of rules or obligations. You are engaging in a dance with your potential, one that aligns your thoughts, actions, and intentions. The challenge, of course, is that we are often pulled in different directions. The modern world is filled with distractions, constantly shifting priorities, new opportunities, sudden problems that demand our immediate attention. It is easy to get swept up in this current, to feel overwhelmed by the chaos and forget the importance of maintaining a steady course. But this, I believe, is where consistency becomes even more crucial. It is the anchor in a sea of uncertainty. It is the still point in the turning world. At its core, consistency is a practice of presence. To be consistent means to show up, to be present in each moment, regardless of the circumstances. It means committing to the task at hand, not out of duty, but because you understand that every small step you take brings you closer to your goal. It is about being willing to do the work, not for the reward, but for the joy of the process itself. We tend to look for shortcuts in our journey. We are always searching for the fastest route, the quickest solution, the easiest path to success. But true consistency requires us to relinquish the need for instant gratification, asks us to embrace the process, to find meaning in the small, seemingly insignificant moments. It is in these moments that the foundation for something larger is built. The great oak tree does not appear overnight. It is the slow, consistent growth of its roots that allows it to weather storms and stand tall. It is easy to fall into the trap of thinking that results are all that matter. But this is a limited view of success. Success is not just about what you achieve, but who you become in the process. Consistency is about transformation. It is about becoming the person capable of achieving what you desire. It is not merely about creating outcomes, but about creating a life that reflects the highest version of yourself. In our modern world, we are often told that we need to be dynamic, to adapt constantly, to evolve rapidly. Change is celebrated and stagnation is feared. I change that there is a paradox here. True change, true growth, happens not through constant movement and disruption, but through steady, consistent engagement with our craft, our art, and it is the stillness of consistency that allows for deep, transformative change. Now, this does not mean that we should be rigid, inflexible, or unresponsive to new ideas and circumstances. Consistency is not a prison. It is a framework, a structure within which creativity, spontaneity, and evolution can flourish. It's like the framework of a building. It provides the support and stability needed for the walls to rise, the roof to take shape, and the entire structure to stand firm. To force yourself to be consistent is to choose to align with the deeper rhythms of life. It is to understand that everything is connected, and every action you take, no matter how small, ripples out into the larger whole. Each choice, each moment of effort, is a thread in the tapestry of your life, and consistency weaves these threads together into something meaningful. One of the most profound aspects of consistency is that it teaches us patience. In a world that often values speed and instant success, consistency offers a counterpoint. It tells us that there is value in the slow, steady progression toward a goal. It teaches us to trust the process, to remain calm in the face of setbacks, and to understand that even the smallest steps forward are still steps in the right direction. In this sense, consistency is not just an external practice. It is an internal one. It requires a deep commitment to your own growth and well-being. It asks you to cultivate discipline not as a form of self-punishment, but as a means of honoring your potential. It is about developing a relationship with yourself that is founded on trust, understanding, and respect. Of course, there will be moments when consistency feels difficult. There will be days when the momentum is lost, when you feel disconnected from your goals, when the distractions of the world seem overwhelming. But in these moments, consistency asks you to simply return. It is not about perfection. It is about persistence. Even if you falter, you can always return to the path. You can always choose to begin again, to re-establish your rhythm, to continue moving forward, no matter how small the steps may seem. We often think of consistency in terms of productivity, but I urge you to think of it in broader terms. Consistency is not just about doing more, but about doing what is meaningful, doing what aligns with your deepest values and desires. It is about showing up for what matters, not just because it will lead to a tangible outcome, but because it nourishes the soul. When you are consistent, you are investing in your future self, in the person you are becoming. To force yourself to be consistent is to commit to your own growth, to the unfolding of your own potential. It is to understand that life is not about waiting for things to happen, but about creating the conditions in which things can happen. You are not a passive observer in your life. You are the active participant. Your actions, no matter how small, shape the world around you. And when you act consistently, you create a powerful, unstoppable momentum. It is also important to remember that consistency is not about perfection. We are not perfect beings. We make mistakes. We fail. We falter. But it is in these moments of imperfection that the true power of consistency shines through. Consistency is about showing up even when you feel imperfect. It is about continuing to try, to learn, to evolve. It is about embracing the process, not because it is easy, but because it is transformative. There is a kind of beauty in consistency that is often overlooked. It is the beauty of simplicity, of focus, of clarity. When we are consistent, we remove the distractions and the noise. We distill our efforts down to what truly matters, and in this clarity there is peace. There is a sense of alignment, of being in tune with the deeper currents of life. It is in this space of consistency that creativity, inspiration, and fulfillment can emerge. So, what does it mean to force yourself to be consistent? It means making a commitment to show up for yourself day after day with patience, perseverance, and trust. It means embracing the process even when it is difficult or uncomfortable. It means choosing to stay the course, even when the world around you is pulling you in 1,000 directions. It means cultivating a deep relationship with your own potential and understanding that consistency is the key that unlocks it. And perhaps most importantly, to force yourself to be consistent means to recognize that the journey itself is the reward. The steps you take, no matter how small, are the very fabric of your life. Each moment, each choice, each act of discipline is an opportunity to become the person you are meant to be. Consistency is not about achieving a destination. It is about honoring the process of becoming. It is about understanding that the value of life lies not in the end result, but in the unfolding, the journey, and the quiet strength that consistency gives. As we explore the nature of consistency further, it's essential to realize that consistency is not merely an act of willpower. It is a process of aligning our deepest intentions with the external world. It's the conscious, deliberate effort to show up, regardless of the circumstances. Consistency flows from the recognition that life itself is a series of moments, each one an opportunity to plant seeds for the future. In the practice of consistency, we participate in the ongoing creation of our lives, shaping them with every choice we make. When we look at the way nature operates, we can see a deep lesson in consistency. The sun rises and sets without fail, each day offering a rhythm that sustains life on this planet. The tides move in their predictable cycles, shaping the shores and nourishing the life within the oceans. Trees grow, not in leaps and bounds, but slowly, steadily, over time. This natural consistency, this quiet force, is the framework within which life unfolds. It's not concerned with the outcome, but rather the process. It is a lesson we can draw from when thinking about our own journey. Consistency is also a path to self-mastery. When we practice showing up day after day in alignment with our values, we begin to train our minds, bodies, and hearts to be more disciplined, more focused, and more capable of embracing the challenges life brings. Through consistent effort, we begin to reshape our habits, and through the transformation of our habits, we transform our entire life. But even as we speak of consistency as a tool for personal development, we must remember that it is a tool that works with the grain of our true nature, not against it. To force yourself to be consistent is not about creating a life of rigid rules and rigid constraints, but about finding a rhythm that complements who you truly are. Consistency should not feel like a burden. It should feel like the steady flow of a stream that naturally carves its path through the landscape. It should feel like an unfolding, a gradual realization of what you are capable of, without force, but with deliberate intention. The internal struggle to maintain consistency often arises from the sense that we are not where we want to be yet, that the distance between our current reality and our desired future is vast. This gap can be overwhelming, and it is easy to become discouraged. However, the beauty of consistency lies in the understanding that every small, incremental step forward matters. You may not see the end result immediately, but if you commit to the journey, the transformation will reveal itself in time. It is the small acts repeated over time that create the foundation for the life you are striving to build. Consistency is also inherently forgiving. It recognizes that there will be days when we falter, when we fail, or when we simply cannot find the energy to keep going. But the key is not to be discouraged by these moments. Instead, consistency encourages us to begin again, to return to the path, to reset our intentions, and to start anew. Every day is a new opportunity to practice, to align ourselves once again with the rhythm we seek to create. There is no such thing as failure in consistency. There is only the process of returning over and over to the present moment. In this regard, consistency serves as a form of self-compassion. It frees us from the need for perfection. We do not need to be perfect in every moment. We simply need to continue. Consistency reminds us that life is a journey of ups and downs, of progress and setbacks, and that each moment, no matter how seemingly insignificant, contributes to the larger picture. In this, we find a quiet, nurturing strength, one that does not demand, but instead allows us to move forward at our own pace. Furthermore, consistency connects us to the deeper purpose of our lives. When we practice consistency, we are engaging in the deliberate act of aligning ourselves with the force of our own becoming. It's an act of self-trust, a way of saying to ourselves, I believe in this process. I believe in the unfolding of my potential. It is a commitment not only to external results, but to the internal growth that occurs when we honor our own commitments. Each time we show up, we deepen our connection with our core values, with our deeper purpose, and with the greater flow of life. This internal alignment is crucial because consistency works best when it is rooted in a deeper understanding of what truly matters to us. Without this deeper connection to purpose, consistency can feel like a hollow task. It can become a mechanical process of checking off boxes, devoid of meaning. But when consistency is rooted in purpose, in a deep sense of what we want to create in the world, it becomes a powerful force that pulls us forward day by day. It becomes an expression of our deepest self, radiating outward into the world. To force yourself to be consistent is, therefore, not about achieving something immediately or obtaining quick results. It is about showing up in alignment with your values and trusting that the path, though perhaps long, is taking you somewhere meaningful. Each moment you commit to consistency brings you closer to the life you envision, even if the progress feels slow. It is the practice of trust, the trust that life itself is unfolding as it should, one small step at a time. In this sense, consistency is a deeply philosophical act. It is a way of accepting the inherent uncertainty of life while choosing to act with intention, with purpose, and with grace. It acknowledges that there is no certainty in the future, no guarantee that our plans will come to fruition, but it still asks us to act as though they will. It asks us to live in faith, not in the outcome, but in the process. Perhaps one of the most profound aspects of consistency is its ability to shape not just our external circumstances, but our inner state. Through consistent practice, we create a mental environment in which clarity, focus, and calmness can thrive. It is as if we are training our minds to move with the rhythm of life instead of against it. The steady practice of showing up aligns our mind, body, and spirit, cultivating an inner harmony that is reflected in the external world. This process is not always easy. It requires discipline, patience, and an ability to be present even when distractions arise. But it is through this process of continually returning to the task at hand that we cultivate the strength and resilience needed to face the challenges of life. It is the act of consistency that builds a foundation of inner confidence, a confidence that arises not from external approval, but from the knowledge that we are doing the work day in and day out. In the end, to force yourself to be consistent is to choose to honor the journey of your life, to understand that the process is as valuable as the outcome. It is to align yourself with the deeper currents of life, to show up and be present, even when it seems as though the end is far out of reach. It is to commit to the slow, steady unfolding of your potential, trusting that each small step you take will lead you closer to the person you are meant to be. Through this lens, consistency becomes a profound act of self-love. It is an acknowledgement of the potential within you, of the deep, quiet power that resides in each moment of effort, of practice, of presence. It is the art of living with intention, not rushing toward the future, but embracing the beauty and the power of the present moment, knowing that every moment of consistency is shaping the life you are creating. As we continue to explore the essence of consistency, let's remember that it is not merely an external act of discipline, but a transformation that takes place within. Consistency requires that we cultivate patience with ourselves and with the process of becoming. It teaches us to abandon the illusion of immediate gratification and to understand that the most meaningful achievements are often those that unfold slowly, like a seed growing into a tree over the course of many seasons. When we are consistent in our actions, we create a rhythm that allows us to transcend the distractions and fluctuations of life. Just as a musician practices scales over and over again to master an instrument, we must practice consistency in our lives to master the art of living intentionally. There is no shortcut to mastery. The same way an athlete refines their skills through constant repetition and discipline, so too must we refine our habits, beliefs, and actions through consistent effort. It is through repetition that we begin to integrate our deepest values into every facet of our lives. But consistency is not just about repetition. It is also about reflection. As we continue on this journey, it's important to reflect on the progress we've made. Too often we focus on what has not yet been accomplished, forgetting to acknowledge the small steps we have already taken. Consistency is a continuous cycle of action and reflection. We move forward, but we also look back from time to time, appreciating the work that has been done and understanding how far we have come. By reflecting, we can refine our approach, making adjustments and tweaks that improve our future efforts. This cycle of action and reflection can create a powerful feedback loop that propels us forward, not just in a physical sense, but in a deeper, more spiritual sense. It allows us to check in with our inner motivations and make sure we are still aligned with our true purpose. If we are consistently moving towards something that no longer resonates with us, the practice of reflection gives us the insight to recalibrate and continue on a more authentic path. Now, as we begin to recognize the inner harmony that consistency can cultivate, it becomes clear that this practice is not simply about productivity or efficiency. It is about aligning ourselves with something larger than our individual desires. When we are consistent, we are demonstrating our trust in the process of life itself. We are surrendering the need to control every outcome, and instead we are engaging with life in a more organic, intuitive way. It is an act of letting go of the need to force or control, and instead allowing ourselves to flow with the rhythm of our actions. Think of the great artists, the thinkers, the poets, and the leaders who have shaped the course of human history. Their consistency was not born out of an obsession with perfection, but from a deep commitment to their craft. They didn't wait for the perfect conditions, nor did they allow the weight of failure to stop them from moving forward. They showed up consistently day after day with the simple understanding that their work, their efforts, were part of a larger process. And so it is with each of us. Consistency, therefore, becomes a practice of faith, not necessarily in a religious sense, but in the sense of believing that our efforts, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, are contributing to something greater than ourselves. It is about surrendering to the mystery of life and trusting that, in time, the fruits of our labor will ripen. There is a quiet trust in the process that comes with consistency. It teaches us to be patient with both ourselves and the world around us, understanding that everything has its own rhythm, its own timing. One of the greatest challenges we face with consistency is overcoming the distractions that bombard us from every direction. In a world that is constantly moving, it is easy to become sidetracked by the noise of daily life. Yet consistency requires us to cultivate focus. Focus that allows us to remain true to our path despite the distractions, despite the competing demands on our time and attention. This focus is not about rigidly forcing ourselves to adhere to a schedule, but rather about nurturing an awareness of what truly matters in the grand scheme of our lives. By cultivating focus, we begin to discern what deserves our attention and energy. We begin to filter out the trivial distractions that do not contribute to our greater purpose. It is in this process of elimination that consistency finds its power. By consistently focusing on what matters, we begin to reduce the noise in our lives and make room for clarity. And in that clarity, our true purpose can begin to emerge. In many ways, consistency is like a mirror. It reflects who we truly are, our strengths, our weaknesses, our intentions, and our desires. When we show up consistently, we face ourselves without the distractions or excuses that might otherwise obscure our view. This can be a deeply revealing process. It can bring to light the areas in which we are still resistant or unwilling to commit, or where we are lacking in discipline. But it also shows us our capabilities, our potential, and our ability to evolve. The practice of consistency can, in this way, become a form of self-discovery. By returning day after day to the same task, the same intention, we begin to discover who we are underneath the surface-level distractions of life. We come to know ourselves more deeply, our patterns, our reactions, and our true desires. Through this, we gain a greater understanding of what is truly important to us and what we are willing to commit to. This self-awareness is not just an intellectual understanding. It is an experiential knowledge that comes from action, from showing up time and time again. And as we grow in self-awareness, we also grow in our capacity to show up for others. Consistency, when practiced not just for ourselves, but for the benefit of those around us, creates a foundation of trust. When others see that we are consistent in our actions, in our commitments, they come to trust us more deeply. They know that they can rely on us, that we will be there for them, just as we have been there for ourselves. In this way, consistency becomes a form of service, not only to ourselves, but to the world at large. Brings us to another important aspect of consistency, the ability to impact the world around us. When we practice consistency, we create ripples that extend far beyond our immediate experience. Our consistent actions, no matter how small, have a way of influencing those around us. They inspire others to act, to show up, to be consistent in their own lives. In this way, consistency becomes a form of leadership, a leadership that is rooted not in grand gestures or lofty ideals, but in the quiet, persistent effort to live in alignment with our highest values. And so the force of consistency is a quiet one, but a powerful one. It does not demand attention or applause. It does not require recognition or reward. It simply requires that we show up, day after day, committed to the process of becoming. In this process, we discover not just what we are capable of achieving, but who we are capable of becoming. When we force ourselves to be consistent, we are engaging in an act of transformation. We're not simply shaping our external world. We are shaping our internal world. We are developing the discipline, the patience, and the resilience necessary to become the people we are meant to be. Through the practice of consistency, we engage in the ongoing process of growth and self-realization. It is in this process that we find the true power of our potential, not as a distant goal, but as a living, breathing force that moves with us in every. In this ongoing journey of consistency, we must remember that it is not about perfection. The world often tells us that consistency requires flawless execution, but this is a misleading narrative. Perfection is a myth, an unattainable ideal that only serves to discourage us. True consistency is found not in never making mistakes, but in our ability to continue in the face of failure. It is in our willingness to show up again after we have stumbled, to continue to put in the work even when we don't feel like it. It is a quiet rebellion against the notion that we need to be perfect to be valuable. It tells us that we are enough as we are, in our messiness and imperfection, and that our efforts are worth something even when they don't lead to immediate results. It teaches us to detach from outcomes and to find satisfaction in the simple act of doing, in the commitment to the process itself. When we embrace this view, consistency becomes not just a habit, but a practice of self-compassion, a form of grace that allows us to move through life with more ease and acceptance. To be consistent, we must also be willing to surrender control. The desire for control is often at the root of our impatience with the process. We want immediate results, and when they do not come, we feel as though our efforts are wasted. Yet consistency demands that we release our attachment to the outcome and trust in the process. Just as a gardener cannot force a seed to grow faster, we cannot rush the unfolding of our own lives. We must allow time to work its magic, trusting that with each passing moment we are becoming more of who we are meant to be. This surrender is not a passive resignation, but an active choice to trust the rhythm of life. It is about working without attachment, showing up consistently without demanding instant results. It's about understanding that life has its own pace, and while we can exert effort, we can. By relinquishing control, we free ourselves from the burden of perfectionism, and we begin to experience life as a series of opportunities for growth rather than as a series of tasks to be completed. In this space of surrender and consistency, we begin to tap into the flow of life. Life is not a race. It is a journey, and it requires patience, trust, and resilience. The more we learn to accept this, the more we begin to experience a profound sense of ease. We are no longer battling against time or forcing outcomes, but moving in harmony with the natural rhythm of life. It is in this flow that we find our true strength, not in our ability to push and strive, but in our ability to be present, to do the work without attachment, and to trust that the results will come in their own time. Now, as we explore consistency further, it's important to recognize that consistency is not only about showing up for the external tasks or goals we set for ourselves. It is also about showing up for our own inner needs. How often do we neglect our inner well-being in pursuit of external success? We prioritize work, achievement, and external validation, yet our inner peace, our emotional health, and our spiritual growth require just as much consistency. Consistency in caring for ourselves is just as important as consistency in any other aspect of life. The mind, body, and spirit require regular attention, just like any other part of us. For this means cultivating habits of self-care that nurture our emotional health, maintaining a consistent practice of reflection or meditation that allows us to stay centered, and committing to a daily routine of nourishing our bodies with healthy food, exercise, these are not optional. They are essential to maintaining the balance and energy necessary for all of our other. In fact, when we are consistent in caring for our inner world, it creates a foundation of stability that supports all other areas of our lives. Just as a tree cannot grow without deep roots, we cannot thrive without nurturing our inner selves. Consistency in this realm allows us to build resilience against life's challenges, to remain grounded in the face of adversity, and to respond to the world from a place of inner strength and clarity. This inner consistency is what allows us to show up authentically in all aspects of our lives. When we are consistently aligned with our inner values, when we take care of our mental and emotional well-being, we are able to move through the world with integrity. We are not swayed by the opinions of others, nor are we moved by external pressures. We are solid in who we are, and we carry this strength into every action, every relationship, and every decision we make. And yet, even in our efforts to nurture this inner consistency, we must also acknowledge that life is not always predictable. We are human, and we will face moments of inconsistency, of doubt, and of struggle. Why, this does not mean we have failed. It simply means we are human. The key is not to strive for perfect consistency, but to maintain our commitment to the practice, even when we falter. We must give ourselves permission to stumble, to make mistakes, and to learn. The real test of consistency is not in avoiding failure, but in how we respond to it. Do we give up, or do we get back up and continue on our path? In the moments when we feel discouraged, it is helpful to remind ourselves that consistency is not a destination, but a journey. It is a way of being, a commitment to living in alignment with our deeper values. When we approach life in this way, we are no longer focused on reaching an end goal, but on living a life of purpose and integrity. We may not always see the immediate fruits of our labor, but over time, our consistency will yield results far beyond what we can imagine. Through this process, we begin to understand that consistency is not a matter of rigid control, but of gentle persistence. It is not about forcing ourselves to meet some ideal, but about showing up day after day and honoring the process. It is a form of surrender to the flow of life, an act of trust that our efforts, no matter how small they may seem, are contributing to something much larger than ourselves. In this way, consistency becomes a living, breathing force that moves through us, guiding us toward our highest potential. The beauty of consistency lies in its simplicity. It is not about complexity or grandiosity. It is about showing up. It is about being present with whatever task is before us, whether it's a small chore, a larger goal, or simply the act of being with us. In this act of showing up, we begin to create a life that is aligned with our values, our purpose, and our true essence. And so, as we continue this practice, we do not measure success by the results we achieve, but by the simple act of being present and committed to the process. In the end, it is not the outcome that defines us, but the consistency with which we engage with life itself. Through this practice, we not only shape our external world, but we also shape our inner selves. In doing so, we create a life that is grounded, meaningful, and deeply connected to the flow of the universe.